Hello, this is Avishka, and today we'll be talking about the gun culture in America. On 13 July 2024, during a speech at Pennsylvania, Donald Trump was shot almost 8 times.
And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
It was an assassination attempt on the former US President Donald Trump. Attacker was a 20-year-old boy named Matthew Thomas. Now, this news must have definitely shocked the whole world, but maybe not America, because America has had a history of assassination attacks on their presidents. Today, we'll be discussing about the growing gun culture in America and how this situation has started to threaten the upcoming presidential elections in the United States of America. While President Joe Biden is claiming that there is no place of violence in America, the situation is pretty unclear.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, or for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized.
The US presidential position is a superpower's role, and political assassination strikes at the very center of American psyche. Taking you through some factual data. Out of 45 people who have served as president, 4 have been assassinated while being in their offices. Abraham Lincoln was killed in 1865. James Garfield was killed in 1881. William McKinley was killed in 1901 and John F. Kennedy in 1963. It was post McKinley's assassination that the US Secret Service was given the job of providing full-time protection to the American president. Now, the last American president who was shot is Ronald Reagan in 1981. Now, the list of attacks doesn't end here. Presidents like Franklin D. Roosevelt and influential leaders such as Martin King Luther Jr. have been attacked by guns. Now, what does this situation speak about America? In a country with more guns than people, it is not surprising that invariable shooting is the preferred means of killing or attempting to kill political office holders. In America, 4.6 million homes have at least one gun which is kept loaded and unlocked. Now, these improperly stored weapons have contributed to school shootings, suicide, and the deaths of family members, including infants. In America, guns are not just used to attack politicians, but innocent children in schools. According to a report by CNN, there have been at least 35 school shootings in the United States so far. This year, 9 were on college campuses, 26 were on K-12 school grounds. The incidents left 17 people dead and at least 39 victims injured. The greatest numbers of school shooting was in the year 2022 than in any year since the Columbine High School shooting. This reversed America's broader rise in gun violence as it emerged from the pandemic. However, the US Department of Homeland Security research shows that if we know the signs of gun violence, we can prevent it and reverse the trend. In the opinion poll of the Washington Post, a statement by an American citizen caught my eye, which stated that the gunshot injury of Donald Trump was much like the massacres of innocent children in our schools and the slaughter of innocent people as they worship, and other horrifying acts of violence in our countries once again. Highlights the urgent need for strong and effective gun control legislation. At last, it quoted, "All Americans, including Mr. Trump, deserve safety from gun violence." Now that we are well versed with the prevailing gun culture of America, let us understand how this violence can be stopped or prevented. Since US is one of the only 3 countries in the world where wearing arms is a constitutional right, keeping in mind this scenario, prevention of gun violence should be on the basis of human psychology. According to the American Psychological Association, prevention of gun violence starts at the level of understanding who are at the risk of violence and who need assistance. Now, the prevention strategies need to be constructed based on primary prevention and secondary prevention. Primary prevention strategies will address the general population, while the secondary prevention strategies will include actions such as providing mental health treatment for an acutely depressed or suicidal person, or somebody who is conducting threat assessment in terms of gun violence. This report also laid out the difference between impulsive violence and predatory violence. Impulsive violence is carried out in the heat of the moment, while predatory violence is the violence which is pre planned.
Gun deaths in the US have reached the highest rates in 50 years.
There are several students who have been shot.
Something has to change.
It's a pressing issue that needs careful consideration.
We need guns because, to be quite frank, it's scary living in my neighborhood.
Now, if you sit down and analyze the gun violence laws, most of the US gun violence laws focus on the user of the gun, be it somebody with mental issues or a minor. Relatively few focus in the design, manufacturing, distribution, and advertising of guns. The manufacturing and the type of gun being distributed in the market, such as handguns or shotguns or rifles, should be the biggest area of concern for the US gun laws or the United States government to create gun laws in order to minimize the gun violence effect. Now, the irony here is that the United States was one of the signers of the Geneva Convention, which prohibits the use of hollow point bullets in war. But hollow point bullets are still available to citizens of the United States. Advertising of guns should also be an area of concern because such advertisements lead to an influential impact on increasing the purchase of guns by civilians. These ads have definitely disappeared from classified sections in newspapers, but advertising in magazines, specifically gun magazines, is very strong. The USA is a big democratic nation. A nation that is busy highlighting the democratic flaws of other countries instead of focusing on its own. And to be more precise, the USA has failed to stop the prevailing gun culture. This presidential election will take a big turn due to this prevailing gun culture in the United States. That's it with our brief analysis. Stay tuned for more such videos.